Okay, everyone, this is going to be yet another Monster Art School, and today we're going to do something a little fun and silly. So today was kind of a bit of a, I don't know, I spent a lot of energy over the weekend, and now I'm kind of just dragged down. So I'm going to do something a little bit fun, a little bit silly, just to kind of bring up the energy today. So I hope you guys are all ready to draw something silly with me today. All right? So today we're going to draw a koala barbarian. Yes, I know, a koala barbarian. Or is it a barbarian? You know, anyway. So I was looking at koalas, and if you look at koalas, they have some interesting body types. And I thought it'd be really fun to play around with what you can have a barbarian or a koala doing. So koalas, I'm just going to do a quick sketch of what a koala looks like, and then we'll go from there. So in order to understand the koala, you have a head. Well, let's start in the middle here. You have a head like so. And then, you know what, I'm going to lower the screen a little bit lower so you can see better. So their head... sorry, I'm having trouble with this. Okay, there we go. I'll move it there. So their head is pretty big in comparison to their body. In fact, I'd say their head is like 2/3 of their body size. Or, I mean, 1/3 of their body size. So if you imagine the body being about that big and the head being about that big, and then you have to imagine the ears. You've got these big ears, and then you've got these long arms on the front, kind of like this. I didn't realize they were quite so long-armed in the front. So like that, and then their back legs kind of pull back and come out like this, and their paws on their hands are kind of wild. They have 3 fingers here and then 2 thumbs out here. So this is my loose kind of scribble, just so you can see what we're talking about. There's the nose. That's going to be the loose scribble, but I'm going to choose a different position. What I want to do is I want to play around with movement. So if you want to play around with movement, you got to think of a gesture line. So if I think of a gesture line like this, I'm going to have the koala maybe like this. And I think a koala barbarian would be carrying an axe. I don't know why, but I think that's what they do. They carry axes. So you imagine a koala is going to be looking something like this. So this is my loose sketch for what we're going to do. It's kind of like a flying teddy bear. So on the next sheet, what we're going to do next is sit down and kind of like lay out the sketch lightly. So what I want to do is I want to get the head established. So we'll go with the head over here, make it kind of nice and big. And then we want to decide how the physical body is going to go, what the movement's going to be, and if we go through the other sketch that we had, we kind of curved it back like so. So that would put the koala's shoulders right about here under his head, because they don't really have much of a neck. And we can give him kind of they have a short neck, but you know, koala shoulders like this, and then the chest like so, and then we'll come down to his belly, which will be like that, and then his hips. I could even make his head a little bigger just for fun. And then what we're going to do is the shoulders here, we're going to bring, let's have one shoulder. So the length of their arm is about, their elbow hits about here. So if I'm going to draw out to there, that will give me the measurement for the elbow here. So if the elbow reaches to the, let's say approximately the bottom of the rib cage, right about here, that's where the elbow should be. So we'll kind of keep it like so. And then down here, I think I'm going to make this a little shorter because I want him to look a little bit less long in the body. I want to go for the shorter body, chubbier body kind of thing here. And then we'll have his legs out here, and maybe he has one leg that's kind of touching the ground, so it'll come out. And what we'll do is we'll get into this a little bit more, because we're just really throwing in the loose sketch part here. So we'll have the one leg come like this and touch the ground like that, and the other leg maybe coming out like this. We'll maybe throw the ground like this, and we'll tilt that arm up and out to his hand out here, and this arm maybe comes forward like so. So we just wanted to get the basic body shape in. Now the next step is going to be, we're going to go through and erase some of this stuff so we don't have it messing up our drawing. And and if anyone has any questions, I actually have a setup now that I can read your questions while I'm working. So if you want to ask me any questions, I am here to answer them. So what we're going to do next is we're going to start filling out the body and figuring out where the anatomy goes and how the body works. So koala tend to have pretty wide upper arms, like right here. So what I'm going to do is, since this is the elbow here, I'm going to draw kind of a cone. So if you look at the shape, it's kind of like this, or a plastic cup kind of a shape right here. We'll have it go right here like that. And that'll kind of give me the movement of that arm. And on this arm too, we'll do the same thing. We'll draw the plastic cup kind of a shape. And what we want is, the idea is that this is attaching into here, into the shoulder. Now if we wanted to get into anatomy, we'd draw things like the pectoral muscles and the deltoid up here, but you know, these animals have slightly different anatomy than human, and since I don't know the exact anatomy, I'm just going to kind of play around with it. So now the upper arm, we're going to take this elbow form here. We're just going to, let me simplify that a little bit so you can see it easier. Just make it a simple ball. But we're going to have it get wider here and then come to the elbow as it gets thinner. And then it's going to come out from the elbow back to the hand, like that. And the hand, like I said before, they have these weird double-thumbed hands. So we're going to basically draw the hand like this for now, and we'll come back to it when we need to get to the anatomy. So now right about here, we're going to have the split in the middle of the body, where the rib cage is going to come down to about here, and then we're going to have the hips start right about here and here. So if you imagine he's wearing a pair of tighty-whitey underwear, like so, the hips would come out here and here. Or I guess, you know, tighty-whiteys or panties or a bikini, you know, something like that. Again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask. So now, I'm going to make sure that the way the body is tilted, that the chest is overlapping on the shoulder over here. We want to make sure that this comes in front of this. Whereas on this side, the upper shoulder comes in front of the torso. So we'll have the clavicle here, and the chest cavity, chest bones would be like here, like this. I'm not going to get too into the detail of that because, like I said before, I don't know the exact koala anatomy, and it is different than human. So I'm going to be basically figuring out what they look like from humanoid forms as opposed to exact koala forms, because I don't have a koala anatomy book. Now the belly, we're going to put down like this. And again, this sphere for the belly, which is also going to encompass the hips in here, is going to have the leg and upper leg, to the knee coming out of it, like so. Okay? We want to start the hips very high up here. So the leg's going to come out like that. And then I don't think I'm going to have his arm down like that. I think I'm going to have his arm come up. So I think it's much more barbarian-like to have your arm come up and be screaming with barbarian koala rage. I think his head needs to be a little bigger, so we'll just go a little wider with that. We'll get to that in a little bit. So let's get these two cones here. And they're both going to be going back. So if you can imagine, we'd be seeing the inside of the cones where the knee is. And then from the knee, the leg goes back to what's essentially an ankle-like form here. And then we have the koala feet back here. It might be a little big. Let me look at my koalas. Yeah, it's a little big. So we'll give it littler feet. We'll have this come back like so, and then come back into little feet like that. Because they don't have very long calves. So the upper leg is pretty long, and then the lower leg, well, actually it's about the same length, but it curves back and in. So when you're drawing this, to simplify, just so you can see how this would work, what you're going to have is, you'll have this shape where the leg is coming out to the knee. We'll draw a cone here to the knee. Then back here we'll draw a smaller cylinder cone back to the ankle. And then we'll have the foot, and I'm just drawing kind of a diamond shape for the foot, see? Coming from this point out here. So the same thing's happening here, but what we're experiencing is overlap. So what's happening with this leg, as we bring this out, this will overlap the back portion of leg, the lower portion of leg. So this overlaps the lower portion of leg, and then we see this in foreshortening, moving back towards the ankle. And as that foreshortens back to the ankle, we draw the ankle in, and then the foot comes flat out from there. Okay? And we'll do the same on this. So we have the upper leg to the knee, and then because this is hiding behind, it's basically doing this kind of a thing. That's the front of the pencil. Like, the pencil's really long, but when it comes pointing at us, it gets shorter and shorter, right? So we're essentially doing that here. Pencil would normally be as long as this distance. The leg moves back and gets shorter. So now we can throw the foot there. Now let's get the belly in, because I kind of think like koalas kind of have nice big bellies, even though they don't really. They just kind of have that fuzzy belly bear thing kind of going on. I know they're not really bears, but they're marsupials. But let's bring that there to make him kind of pudgy, and we'll give him pectoral muscles up here, kind of. And then now we're going to get up to the top here, and we're going to start getting into the head. Now the koala head is really kind of cool because they have this really cool nose that's really long. So I'm going to draw the nose first, just so we can get an idea of where the center of the head is. So we have the head like so. That'll be his nose. Actually, I'm going to even move the nose up even further, like that. Just because, for fun. Because I kind of want to see this guy have his nose up, and he'll be looking down at us. So you want to imagine everything we're drawing is in 3 dimensions. So imagine you've got a 3-dimensional sphere here, okay? That his head is made out of. And you've got his nose that is 3-dimensional kind of bump on the front of it. And out here, we'll have a mouth. So if we draw a line down the center of the nose, it's going to be pushed to that side because we're looking at it from a slightly three-quarter point of view, almost three-quarter point of view. So we would see a nostril here and a nostril there. And then we can draw the mouth coming down like this. And then we'll create these. You can use egg shapes, you can use other kinds of shapes to create his kind of mustache. And you know, it's funny, it is difficult to find a picture of one of these guys with their mouths open, but I found some skulls. So I do know that they have 2 major teeth here, and then they have kind of a cute little chin at the bottom, and they have 2 major teeth on the bottom as well that go behind these. Kind of look like rodent teeth, but they're not. So I'm going to do that with these teeth here. I'm going to have him with his mouth open. And the way I achieve that is these guys have little kind of lower chins. I'm going to treat it like a cup. So what I mean by that is if you have a cylinder like so going down to a cup, or not a cylinder, an ellipse that becomes a cup, you're going to see the inside of that cup like this. So if I treat this the same way, I'm going to wrap this around as if this is the edge of the lid of the cup, like that. And then I can put his lower teeth in that jaw right here. And then he has some other teeth that are here. The mouth's not looking scary, right? Because, you know, I think it's a koala, but man, these guys have some scary teeth. So now, this is looking really weird right now. But you'll see. So now we'll just finish up that nose. We've got the mouth. We're gonna finish the mouth's edges here. I guess I should make this a little smaller, the chin, because it's a little big now. And then his eyes, we're gonna locate those. If this is where his nose meets his face, his eyes will be to either side like that. And these are weird looking creatures. So I'm going to check that because I'm not so happy with this, because I think if the angle is here and the angle of the nose is here, the eyes have to be angled like that. So I want to put his eye over here, a little lower. I had it too high. So you always want to make sure that the angle of the eyes and the nose and the mouth all agree. So now I've got eye here. And for the eyes, they don't have huge eyes. But what they do have is they have eyelids and lower eyelids and upper eyelids. So you throw in a lower eyelid and an upper eyelid. Essentially, I draw a circle around the outside, and then I pinch the inner circle out to that. So you draw a circle outside, and just bring it out to the edges, like so. Now I gotta just check my proportions here. I gotta check my angle. I actually think I'm gonna lower this eye just a tad, because what I want to do is have it be a little more rounded, and I realize I made that a little too straight across. So we'll do that. And then we'll get the top of his head, and they have kind of a ridge right here, a bony ridge, and then it comes out around like this, and then you've got your cheeks coming down here. And same over here. This is a weird looking creature. Again, this is going to come out. You have your chubby cheeks, and it's going to come up like this. Now, let's get those ears in. Now, the ears are huge. So, the ear is almost, not quite as big as the head, but almost. It's pretty big. So we'll throw a weird ear. Oh man, this is a weird creature. There. And then let's get down to some of the basics here. Let's finish off this nose. So we have to redraw that a little. You don't have to redraw it, but I do because I made a mess out of it. So I just want to have the nostrils like so. And koalas don't have discernible eyebrows really, but they do have a little ridge right here. So we could throw kind of like a little furry edge here. I mean, they're all furry, so it's kind of hard to discern an eyeball. And then in here, let's make the nostrils dark. We'll do the same in here. And we'll give this little koala guy a little bit more of a angry face. And part of that is by showing the lips coming up and around, it kind of gives him more of a sneer. And I want to show the gums here, like so. Now, these guys have cheekbones right in here. So we want to make sure we keep that in mind as we're drawing the face. But there is some structure to this, and that structure connects from where the muzzle is out to this cheekbone like this. So as we kind of construct the face from here, we want to make sure that we have this form in mind. Because even though it's not super clear, because the fur covers it up, you want to have that there just in case. Now let's get ears in. Okay, now let's get to the body again. I'm going to make this body a little pudgier, because I think a pudgy, scary koala is kind of fun. I'm going to make his chin a little bit smaller, because even though they do have fairly pronounced chins, I think I made it a little too big. We'll get those teeth in there. We'll darken the inside of his mouth so it really feels like it's inside. Koala attack! And then maybe we'll... Yeah, it's a nice action of attacking koalas, yeah. Thanks, Robert. So now down here, where the head connects to the body, we're not going to see muscles on this guy. You just don't see external muscles. Part of it's just there's too much hair. So what we're going to do is, in here, in order to kind of really connect him in, we're going to have like a furry neck. But it's not even really a neck. It's like a neck fold. So it's going to make a pouch like right there. And that's going to come in, and we're not even going to see anything in the body in here. Or at least not much. Let's get that line out of there. And then we're going to get those, let's get these arms out. So we drew the arms in here, because the torso is going like this and back. In here, you're going to see the muscles on the front. So this would be the koala equivalent of a pectoral muscle right here, meeting up to the koala deltoid here. And then back here, you'd have the muscles of the back coming around. So you get like a koala armpit in here like that. Okay? So it's a big koala armpit. And then we're going to say make this furry, but then I would spend a lot of my time creating the fur on places where the body has to change direction, like elbows, rather than drawing fur on everything. This is one weird creature. I think I need to make his nose dark, because right now it doesn't look like a koala because his nose is light. I think it'll help once we see the darkened nose. Ah, it's better. Now he feels more like a koala to me. I was like sitting there going, it just doesn't feel koala-y. You're actually doing a painting of a koala and a baby, not attacking. Yeah, well, you should stop these baby commissions and do like, koala warrior, because that's what this is going to be. I don't know, Robert. So up here, we're just going to make these big fuzzy ears, and they have some nice longish fur in here, so you can get some zigzag lines to create the fur. Really kind of create an edge on that. That's kind of exciting and fun. Over here too, do the same. And notice like the neck, you want it coming out of the body, right? You don't want like there too much of a separation, because these guys don't have like a big separate neck. So just keep track of that as you're going, so you don't end up with like an animal that has too much of a separate, torso from the head. And we're not going to see all those muscles. So what you might do is just keep the shadow that was left there from the convergence of those three muscle groups, and that's all you need. And that should give you the impression of what's happening with the body. And even this is like, oh, he's got some serious lats, so we don't need to have that either. Unless you really want to have, a rocked out koala. So now, up here on the arm, we're going to end the arm like this, and then we're going to have to get into, we're going to be drawing a hand kind of like that. So the way we're going to do that, is we're going to see like there's the pad of the outside of the hand and the pad of the thumb. So we want to have the thumb pad on the outside of the hand pad. We can use, egg shapes or whatever you want for that, like so. And then bring thumb muscle to thumb. Now these guys have 2 thumbs, which is crazy. So we'll put one thumb like this, and then I guess another thumb like that. Wait, maybe not. Because I want to be holding on to his axe. So let's make the thumb come up like this. And we'll put the other thumb like that. Okay, that is just too weird. 2 thumbs, man. I don't know. Anyway, and then they have 3 upper fingers here. One, I don't know if I'm going to have room for his axe. Oh, well. We'll work it out. 1, 2, 3 fingers there. And basically what you want to do is you want to think about where the knuckles are. So if you're going to be grabbing around something, you're going to have this kind of a look where it goes from the tip to the knuckle to the second knuckle. So you might see the tip to the knuckle to the second knuckle, like so. So you don't want to lose structure when you're drawing this stuff. You want to keep that structure because it's important just to keep the drawing going. And then in here, I'm just going to create maybe it's not an axe, maybe it's some sort of crazy blade. Some sort of barbarian blade. I don't know. Like that. He's got it behind his ear. Although, he wouldn't have it behind his ear. He'd probably have it in front of his ear. So we'll go like that. Maybe he's such a barbarian he carves his axe out of bones of his victims. So he's got this cool bone axe in his hand. And we'll end this with that kind of, we'll have the end of this with that kind of bony section, like he took it off of, there's a femur of a large animal. So this is the femur and fits into the cup of the hip. Let's bring his belly out a little bit more so he has a little bit more structure. Like so. And then we've got his pelvis down here, and we've got his legs. And we've already got the structure of his legs, and really at this point it's just about kind of putting the hair in, the fur in, kind of making him feel a little bit more finished in there. Some of this is just remembering that this is an internal area, and so that we'll get some shadows. Bringing the leg out here, down to the knee, having this overlap that back part of the leg, come up like so, and then we'll get to those feet, the koala feet. And koala feet are kind of cute. They're short, so it's hard to tell how many toes they have. I've been looking and looking. I haven't seen pictures of their back feet. People tend to obsess over their front feet because they have those weird extra thumbs, but their back feet don't have those, so I have to look a little more close. So yeah, here we'll I think they only have 3 toes, which is kind of weird. Looking at it, that's what it looks like. So this is just a ghost. What I mean is it's like a sketch. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I have the knuckles in there. So we'd have 1, 2, 3 knuckles for each toe, and then a second knuckle here. So we'll draw those knuckles in, but we don't need to like accentuate them a lot because koalas don't really have a lot of definition. So, but keeping in mind, like notice I'm just making these lines have a little bit of a curve around it, around that knuckle, just so that it keeps in mind that there is a structure underneath there. And I'm not just drawing like sausages or something. There is a physical structure under there. And I'll do the same with this one. Let's get, knuckle, 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 and then secondary knuckle, and so forth. And we'll draw around these toes, around and in like so. And then we can put the toe nails on. They're just really triangles that I'm throwing on there. And maybe this area down here, those lines are a little too rough for me, so I'll bring them. Remember, lines frequently represent places where light can't go. So light's not going to get in between the leg and the part of the body there. So we can just kind of allow this to get pretty dark in this seam in there. So anywhere where the body shifts position, you can throw fur. Like here, like here. It's a really good place to kind of make your fur stand. Because, you know, out here, yeah, you could have a slightly furry edge. You know, and slight interruptions, but it's much more effective when you use the fur to your advantage in the darker parts. Let's draw a furry area where the upper arm meets the lower arm. Bring this around. And note, I'm not just doing straight lines here. I'm kind of giving a bit of curve, partially because around bones, there's generally not a lot of separation between the edge of the bone and the skin, like on an elbow. So you don't see, you know, the elbows are kind of pointy. And then between here and here, you might end up with a fatty kind of area that kind of hangs down. So you'll see a lot of times I'll add kind of curves to areas where skin might hang down or whatever, but then when you get to a bony area like an elbow, you bring it in. Same with hands. Like when you start getting into this area, there's not a lot of extra stuff in the wrist and hand, but down here you can kind of add a little extra. And here I'm just going to draw. I'm going to run out of paper is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to I'm going to ghost in the fingers real quick. And what I mean by ghost in is I just kind of draw a quick sketch like that, and then I go in and I fix it. So right now I have an idea that the palm of his hand is going to look like, we've got these two egg shapes. This is the side of the hand here, and this is the thumb area. And then we're going to have the balls of the fingers like that, and then we have the three fingers here, and we're going to say one knuckles under here, one knuckles here, one knuckles there, and so forth. And we can then kind of draw the fingers on the outside of that. And again, like, you don't just erase this stuff and forget it. You want to make sure that you're keeping those shapes in there. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to use the balls of the hand here to kind of separate the fingers from the palm. I'm going to keep the lines of the center of the palm there, and then the underneath of the balls of the hand there. I'll throw some fur out here and give him some wrist lines. We're not going to see his thumbs because they're back behind this, so that's okay. And we'll allow the fingers to end before the fingernails, which we'll throw out there. So now, whoops, I just kicked the stand. Sorry, guys. Now, for setting, I don't know. I think in order to make this guy feel like a barbarian, I think he needs to have maybe a nice belt here that kind of ties here. Remember, you're drawing a ribbon in a way with the belt, so it goes around the form and then comes back around. So remember, those ribbon shapes can help you to create things that look three-dimensional. So it's got his belt tying over here, and maybe this is like a buckle, and we'll have a piece of leather sticking out like this. Although that is too much of a convergence. Let's not let that happen. So the leather come out like that. Maybe on his belt here, he's got a pouch. So just think about a box that you curve the edges off on. Maybe give it a little flap on there. You know, he probably has leather bracers, you know, around his hand, around his wrists here. And we'll put, you know, little leather ties that hold those bracers on. Essentially, I'm just creating X's where one of the lines goes over the other. It's an illusion, really. And I can put one over here, too. I'm starting to think this guy should be a pirate. I don't know. Maybe he has like an eye patch or something. You know, he lost in battle with the dreaded kangaroos. So we'll dread pirate kangaroo or something. I don't know. So we can do that too. Just making. Yeah, let's say he lost this eye in a battle. So we'll give him a nice eye patch here. Arg. I be a koala pirate. And, you know, it has to tie on, so it goes around his head and under his ear over here. And he wouldn't be a good pirate if he didn't have a skull and crossbones on his eye patch. Or witty, I don't know. Just darken this around here so we can see the eye patch nice and clearly. There we go. And yeah, so he's shirtless, right? Maybe he's wearing does he have a kerchief on top of his head like this? We can have the ties hanging back like that. So the kerchief will be on top of his head up here. Really, these shapes are just simple shapes. You just have to recognize how they work together. So like this is, you know, what's that, like a triangle kind of shape. And if we put polka dots on that, that might make it feel a little bit more real. And note what I'm doing here is I'm kind of making it look like there's a fold by having the polka dots end and appear to go into the material. We'll give it some dark over here in the ear, make him look more ferocious. Those teeth really kind of set up that ferocious bit for this guy. I hear the koalas are not very pleasant to play with. I don't know though. I hear they're not very friendly. Although who can blame them? They're endangered. Poor guys. So we'll get the koala anger action here. Put a darker chin under there. Almost that kind of makes him look like he's got a bit of a goatee because he is mad koala. Let's finish up that knife of his. Get that knife in here. Maybe the knife has a break in it. You know, here, maybe another one there, where he's nicked it, using it against someone's head, or cutting open a fruit, I don't know. Maybe these leather pieces here have some texture to them, putting little triangles and stuff on them just to give them a little bit of interest. These thumbs, these double thumbs, let's remember we've got the knuckle here, so we want to remember to put the fingernail there. We'll do the same on this one. Hey, it's so weird that they have double thumbs, I have to say. It is so bizarre. it just makes for some strange, I don't know what, strange anatomy. Very alien to me. So now we'll get the fingernails on here, get the knuckles in, fingernail, knuckle. Oh, thanks, Elizabeth. Hey, Elizabeth, how you doing? Long time no see. And then in here, let's make it dark because, you know, this knife is going to cast a shadow, and that way we can establish the knife is in there, in his hand. Let's give him some fur here, and let's finish off the bone of his knife. Give it some more textures and stuff up there. And I think his belt could use, you know, you put a little ball there for the, not ball, but a little piece of metal there for the thing that holds the belt together. Don't ask me what that's called, I don't remember. We have his nice little shiny buckle, and then maybe, you know, he's lost some weight lately, so he's used up, you know, he's moved his thing a little closer into his waist there, you know. And then, you know what, in order to set this guy in space, oh, these things need to go dark. I know you're like, what are those things? They're part of the bandana there, so you want to give them a little bit of sense that they wrap around, so they're kind of, you're thinking about them like a shape like this. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, just simplifying it down a little. Whoops, sorry, I kicked the phone again. And then let's get these darker up here. Give him a little bit more shadow under the chin, and maybe give it a little bit shadow under that neck. And now we need to establish that he's in the air. So the best way to do that is to create a ground space. So here's the ground space down here. And once you do that, just by creating that ground space, that just gives you the impression that he's way high up. He's like maybe a foot, you know, half a foot in the air. And then you can throw some speed lines there if you like. Or actually, I kind of like, rather than doing speed lines, kind of doing dirt lines. It's like pieces of dirt that have fallen off the ground because he's jumped in the air. That. Give him an elbow over here. So right now I'm just kind of picking up things that I missed earlier, kind of finishing it up. It's called the cleanup phase. But yeah, so that's pretty much our koala pirate. I'm going to probably put a little bit of shading on here where his lower leg casts a shadow on his foot. I'll do the same over here. Maybe the inside of this gets a little bit of a shadow. We can put like a pattern on this so we know for sure what it is. It's a pouch on his belt. Does he need a bandolier strap or something? Maybe. Yeah, something. I think that might help. We'll throw a, I don't know what he's going to have in his bandolier. Maybe nothing, but I think a strap coming across here like this just kind of makes him look that much more dashing. Because he is a dashing pirate koala. Such a weird drawing. And I'll put another buckle up here just for the heck of it. Well, I guess if he's a pirate, maybe he has a pistol. I don't have a place to put a pistol right now. Well, you could throw a pistol like it's sitting out, hanging outside of his belt over here. So let's do that. So let's create a tube here. Now, normally I would do reference on a pistol, and I have an idea of the kind of pistol I want to draw, but since I don't have good reference, please don't yell at me for my bad pistol drawing, because it's not going to look perfect until I can get myself some good reference on what I think is called a blunderbuss. I think that's what they called these old school pistols. I don't know. So much for making it up on the fly, right? So yeah, just adding little shadows underneath objects, and then I'm pretty much done. So yeah, there's our koala pirate warrior for today. I hope you had fun drawing along with me. I hope you did draw along. I'd love it if you guys posted your drawings here so I could see what you're up to. And I hope you're doing okay during this crazy time of quarantine. I'm going to be moving some of these over to Twitch in the next couple of days. So I'll have a Twitch channel where I'll be doing Monster Art School, and that way I'll be able to spread the love to different platforms. Also, there's some Monster Art Schools up on YouTube right now under Steve Ellis. Well, Monster Art School at Steve Ellis on YouTube. So if you look those up, you should find them there. And so if you're looking for more drawing classes, it's mostly the older ones. But anyway, thanks for stopping by, and thanks for drawing along with me. Have a great day. Oh, I forgot to sign it. Always sign your drawings. I always forget. Bye-bye.